Cassidy Lawson, 32, never expected her wedding day would mark the end of her relationship with her family. They'd chosen her brother's college football game over her ceremony, leaving an empty row of seats at the front of the church. Now, 3 years later, as she parked her brand new Tesla Model S, plaid in her driveway, her phone rang for the first time in years. Her mother's number flashed on the screen, and Cassidy knew exactly why. This wasn't a reconciliation call, it was something much worse. Hey there, thank you so much for tuning in to another story time. Before we dive deeper into Cassidy's family drama, I'd love to know where you're watching from today. Drop your location in the comments below. If you enjoy family revenge stories like this one, please hit that like button and subscribe to join our storytelling family. Trust me, you'll want to stick around to see how Cassidy handles her suddenly interested parents. Cassidy had grown up in Madison, Wisconsin, in a household where family hierarchy was clearly defined. Her younger brother Tyler had been the golden child from the moment he showed athletic promise at age 7. Their parents, Richard and Diane Lawson, were respectable middle-class people. Her father, an accountant, and her mother, a high school English teacher, but their world revolved around Tyler's potential football career. "Tyler needs new cleats," her mother would announce, despite having just told Cassidy there wasn't enough money for her science camp. "Tyler needs protein supplements," her father would declare, while Cassidy ate boxed macaroni and cheese for the third night in a row. As a child, Cassidy had accepted this as normal. She'd sit on cold metal bleachers every weekend, her homework spread across her lap watching her brother play, while her parents cheered with an enthusiasm they never showed for her academic achievements. When she brought home straight A's, the report card would be glanced at and placed on the refrigerator with a single magnet. Her father's distracted, "Good job, kiddo," the only acknowledgement she'd receive. By high school, the disparity had become painfully obvious. Tyler's football trophies dominated the living room shelves, while her debate team medals were tucked away in a drawer in her bedroom. When she was accepted to Northwestern University with a partial scholarship, her parents seemed more concerned about how they would attend both her college events and Tyler's high school games. "We'll try to make parents' weekend," her mother had said, but, Tyler has regionals that month. They didn't make it. Instead, they sent a care package with store-bought cookies and a Northwestern pennant they'd ordered online. Cassidy had stood in her dorm room holding the package and realized she'd never been a priority in her parents' lives. It was a crushing revelation for a 19-year-old, but it was also freeing. She stopped going home for short breaks, choosing instead to stay with friends. She declined her mother's half-hearted invitations for Thanksgiving, claiming study obligations. Family should be there for each other, her mother would lecture during their increasingly infrequent phone calls. "I agree," Cassidy would respond, letting the irony hang in the air. College became her sanctuary. She excelled in her computer science major, finding mentors who actually valued her intelligence and drive. By senior year, she had multiple job offers from tech companies in Silicon Valley. When she told her parents she'd accepted a position with a promising startup in San Francisco, her father's first question was whether she'd be able to fly back for Tyler's college games. "Probably not, Dad," she'd answered honestly. Entry-level tech jobs are demanding. Family should be a priority. Cassidy, he had scolded, apparently missing the hypocrisy in his statement. After graduation, Cassidy moved to San Francisco and threw herself into her career. The startup she joined specialized in cybersecurity solutions, and she quickly proved herself indispensable. Her visits home became annual events, stiff Christmas dinners where conversation revolved around Tyler's latest football achievements and her parents' attendance at his games. "We drove 12 hours to see his championship game in Texas." Her mother would boast, seemingly oblivious to the fact that they'd never once visited Cassidy in San Francisco. "That's dedication," Cassidy would reply with a tight smile, swallowing the reminder that they hadn't attended her college graduation because Tyler had a summer training camp. When she was 28, Cassidy met Aaron Mitchell, a software engineer at a neighboring tech company. Their relationship progressed rapidly, both driven professionals who understood each other's ambitions and supported each other's dreams. When they moved in together after a year of dating, Cassidy called her parents to share the news. "That's nice, honey," her mother had said distractedly. "Did you hear Tyler's been drafted by the Green Bay Packers? We're so proud." "That's great," Mom Cassidy had responded automatically, the familiar sting of being an afterthought dulled by years of experience. When Aaron proposed 9 months later with a vintage emerald ring that perfectly matched her personality, Cassidy hesitated before calling her parents. It took 3 attempts before her mother answered the phone, and even then, the conversation was brief. "Mom, I'm engaged," she had announced, a thread of hope still alive, that this milestone might finally earn her parents' full attention. "Oh, congratulations, honey. Have you set a date yet? You know you'll need to work around Tyler's game schedule if you want us all there." The hope withered and died. "We're thinking about next spring," she had said, her voice flat. "Spring is tricky with preseason training," her mother had mused. Maybe summer would be better. Cassidy had ended the call shortly after sitting on her apartment balcony, overlooking San Francisco Bay, Aaron's arm around her shoulders. "They might surprise you," he had offered gently. "They won't," Cassidy had replied, leaning into his embrace. "But that's okay. I have you now." The wedding planning proceeded without input from her family. Cassidy chose her dress with her best friend Zoe by her side. She and Aaron selected a small but beautiful venue in Napa Valley. They decided on a guest list of 60 people, close friends and colleagues, who had been there for them in meaningful ways. When it came time to send invitations, Cassidy mailed one to her parents with a handwritten note. "I know spring isn't ideal with Tyler's schedule, but this day is important to me. I'm hoping you can be there." 3 weeks later, her mother called. "Honey, we've got a conflict," Diane began without preamble. "Tyler's playing an exhibition game in Dallas that weekend. It's being nationally televised, his first big exposure since being drafted. We really can't miss it." Cassidy had expected this response, but the reality still cut deep. "I understand," she said, her voice steady. "My wedding is only one day. Tyler will have many games." "Don't be like that, Cassidy," her mother scolded. "Family supports each other. Tyler would come to your wedding if he could, but this is his career." "And my wedding is my life, Mom," Cassidy had replied quietly. "But I understand your choice." After hanging up, she'd removed 4 chairs from the seating arrangement, the spaces that would have been occupied by her parents, Tyler, and his girlfriend. Aaron had held her that night while she finally allowed herself to cry, mourning the family support she'd never really had. Cassidy's wedding day dawned clear and beautiful in Napa Valley. The vineyard venue was stunning, with rows of grapevines stretching toward distant mountains and an elegant white tent set up for the reception. She stood in the bridal suite Zoe, helping her into the sleek modern gown she'd chosen, trying not to think about the empty chairs that would be in the front row. "Your makeup will smudge if you cry," Zoe warned, gently dabbing at the corner of Cassidy's eye. "I'm fine," Cassidy insisted. "Today is about Aaron and me, not about who isn't here." But as she peered into the mirror, making final adjustments to her veil, her phone buzzed with a text message. Against her better judgment, she checked it. It was from Tyler. "Sorry, we couldn't make it." "Big game today." Good luck attached was a selfie of him in his uniform, their parents proudly flanking him in Packers gear, stadium lights visible in the background. They were already at the game hours before her ceremony was set to begin. Cassidy stared at the image at her mother's beaming face and her father's proud stance, their green and gold outfits garish against the elegant cream and blush tones of her own wedding color scheme. Tyler hadn't even bothered to call just a casual text, as if he were missing a dinner party, not the most important day of his sister's life. "Delete it," Zoe said firmly, taking the phone from Cassidy's hands. "They don't deserve to be part of today, even digitally." Cassidy nodded, swallowing hard. She'd known they wouldn't come, had prepared herself for their absence, but seeing them so happy to be elsewhere still hurt. Aaron found her moments before the ceremony, breaking tradition to check on her after Zoe had worriedly pulled him aside. "Hey," he said softly, taking her hands in his. "We don't need them. Look around at all the people who did show up, who chose us. Those are our real family." Cassidy looked into his kind eyes and felt the tension begin to leave her shoulders. "You're right. I'm being silly." "You're not being silly," he corrected. "You're being human. But don't let them steal another moment of joy from you. Not today." The ceremony proceeded beautifully. Walking down the aisle alone had been Cassidy's choice. She hadn't wanted a stand-in to give her away, preferring to symbolically walk toward her future of her own volition. As she passed the front row, her eyes briefly registered the empty seats before focusing on Aaron waiting for her at the altar, his face lit with love and admiration. During the reception, several guests commented on her parents' absence, clearly unaware of the situation. "Are your folks coming later?" Aaron's uncle asked innocently. "They had a prior commitment," Cassidy replied, with a practiced smile. "Football game," Zoe muttered under her breath, earning a warning glance from Cassidy. The evening progressed with dancing heartfelt toasts and genuine celebration. Despite the empty chairs, Cassidy found herself truly enjoying her wedding day, surrounded by people who had chosen to prioritize her happiness. Aaron's parents had welcomed her warmly into their family, his mother hugging her tightly before the ceremony. "We're so happy you're becoming our daughter," she had whispered, bringing fresh tears to Cassidy's eyes. It was nearly midnight when Cassidy and Aaron finally retreated to their hotel suite, the reception winding down below. Sitting on the edge of the bed, Cassidy slipped off her heels and sighed deeply. "How are you feeling, Mrs.?" Mitchell Aaron asked, loosening his tie. "Happy," she answered truthfully, "but I keep having this intrusive thought." "Tell me," he encouraged. "I keep wondering if they even remembered that today was my wedding day, while they were cheering for Tyler." Aaron sat beside her, taking her hand. "I don't know. But what I do know is that I will never forget a single moment of today for the rest of my life." Cassidy leaned against his shoulder. "I've decided something. I'm done trying with them. I'm not going to keep setting myself up for disappointment." "Are you sure?" Aaron asked carefully. "That's a big decision." "I'm sure," she said firmly. "They've made their choice consistently throughout my life. I'm finally making mine. From now on, we focus on building our life and surrounding ourselves with people who actually show up for us." Later that night, as Aaron slept beside her, Cassidy scrolled through her phone one last time. She opened her family group chat, which had been silent except for Tyler's earlier text, and typed a brief message. "Had the most wonderful wedding today. I hope Tyler's game went well. I've decided to take a step back from trying to be part of this family when it's clear I'm not a priority. I wish you all the best, but please don't contact me for a while. I need time to focus on the family I'm building with Aaron, people who actually show up for each other." She pressed send before she could second-guess herself, then silenced her phone and placed it on the nightstand. In the morning, she saw several notifications from her mother, but she deleted them without reading them. On the flight to Bali for their honeymoon, she blocked her family's numbers. It was the first truly decisive boundary she had ever set with her family, and despite the lingering sadness, she felt lighter than she had in years. As the plane soared over the Pacific, Cassidy looked out at the endless blue horizon and made a silent promise to herself. Never again would she chase the approval of people who couldn't see her worth. The 3 years following her wedding transformed Cassidy's life in ways she couldn't have imagined. Her career at the cybersecurity startup had accelerated rapidly after she developed an innovative algorithm that detected intrusion attempts with unprecedented accuracy. 6 months after her wedding, the company was acquired by a tech giant for a staggering sum, and as an early employee with significant equity, Cassidy suddenly found herself with financial freedom she'd never anticipated. "I don't even know what to do with this much money," she admitted to Aaron one night, as they sat on their apartment balcony, staring at the bank statement that showed several $1 million in their account. "We could buy a house," Aaron suggested, "something with a view and enough space for a home office for each of us." They purchased a modern 3-bedroom home in the hills overlooking San Francisco Bay, nothing ostentatious, but beautifully designed with floor-to-ceiling windows and a wraparound deck. Cassidy furnished it thoughtfully, creating a space that felt both luxurious and comfortable. After the acquisition, both Cassidy and Aaron had been offered executive positions within the larger company. The work was challenging and fulfilling, with Cassidy leading a team developing next-generation security protocols. She thrived in the role, her natural leadership abilities flourishing in an environment where her contributions were recognized and valued. 18 months after the wedding, Cassidy was featured in a technology magazine as one of 30 under 35, changing the tech landscape. The article highlighted her innovative approach to cybersecurity and her rapid rise within the industry. She kept a single copy of the magazine tucked away in her desk drawer, occasionally taking it out when imposter syndrome crept in. She had maintained her decision to cut contact with her family. There had been occasional attempts from her mother, text messages on holidays, a birthday card sent to her old address that was eventually forwarded, but Cassidy had held firm to her boundary. The pain hadn't disappeared entirely, but it had dulled to a manageable ache that only occasionally flared when certain memories were triggered. Aaron's family had embraced her completely, including her in all holiday celebrations and family vacations. His mother called weekly just to chat, and his father regularly sent her articles about cybersecurity that he thought might interest her, always accompanied by thoughtful questions. It was a revelation to be part of a family that made space for her existence, that remembered her preferences, and celebrated her successes. "My parents want to come visit next month," Aaron mentioned one evening as they prepared dinner together. "Mom's dying to see the new kitchen renovation." "That sounds perfect," Cassidy replied sincerely. "I was thinking we could take them to that new restaurant on the waterfront, the one with the seafood tower your dad would love." These simple moments of family planning, so normal to many, still carried a special weight for Cassidy. The casual certainty that Aaron's parents would actually show up, would be interested in their lives, remained quietly miraculous. At work, Cassidy continued to excel. Her team doubled in size, then doubled again. She was invited to speak at industry conferences, sharing her expertise and vision for the future of digital security. After one particularly successful presentation in New York, she was approached by the CEO of her company. "We want to establish a new research division focused solely on quantum encryption," he told her over dinner. "We'd like you to head it up." The promotion came with another significant salary increase and equity package. When Cassidy called Aaron to share the news, his pride was palpable even through the phone. "We need to celebrate when you get home," he insisted. "This is huge, Cass." "It feels surreal," she admitted. "Sometimes I still feel like that girl sitting in the bleachers doing homework while everyone cheered for her brother." "Well, everyone's cheering for you now," Aaron said softly. "And no one's cheering louder than me." When she returned from New York, Aaron surprised her with a reservation at the most exclusive restaurant in San Francisco, a place with a 3-month waiting list that he'd somehow managed to get them into. "To my brilliant wife," he toasted, raising his glass of champagne, "who deserves every success coming her way." Later that evening, as they drove home along the coastal highway, Aaron pulled into a Tesla dealership that was closed for the night. "What are we doing?" Cassidy laughed as he parked their car. "I made an appointment," Aaron said, mysteriously checking his watch. "They're keeping someone here late just for us." Inside, a sales associate greeted them warmly and led them to a gleaming Tesla Model S, plaid in midnight silver. "You've been talking about getting an electric car for ages," Aaron explained. "And with your new position, I thought, why not the best?" Cassidy circled the vehicle in awe, running her fingers along its sleek lines. "Aaron, this is a $120,000 car, and you're worth every penny," he replied simply. "Besides, we can afford it now. Your bonus alone covers it." The realization hit her again. They were wealthy now. Not just comfortable, but genuinely wealthy in a way that would have been unimaginable to the girl who'd grown up wearing secondhand clothes while her brother got the latest athletic gear. "Let's do it," she decided impulsively, a thrill running through her. They completed the paperwork that night with the promise that the car would be delivered the following week. When it arrived, Cassidy took a photo of herself beside it in their driveway, the San Francisco skyline visible in the background. Without really thinking about it, she posted the image to her Facebook account, something she rarely used anymore. The caption was simple: "New car day, electric dreams do come true." She didn't think much about the post afterward, busy with work and life. She and Aaron were discussing starting a family, weighing the timing, and how they would balance children with their demanding careers. They were researching fertility options, gathering information before making any decisions. 3 days after posting the Tesla photo, Cassidy was working from home, enjoying the view from her home office while on a conference call. When the call ended, she noticed her personal phone had several missed calls from an unfamiliar number. As she was checking her voicemail, the phone rang again. This time she answered without checking the caller ID. "Hello, Cassidy, honey, it's Mom." The voice she hadn't heard in nearly 3 years sent a jolt through her system. Cassidy's hand tightened around the phone as she looked out at her beautiful home at the Tesla, parked in the driveway visible from her office window. "Mom," she acknowledged flatly, "it's been a while." "I've been trying to reach you for years," Diane said, her voice carrying that familiar note of reproach that immediately transported Cassidy back to her childhood. "You blocked our numbers." Cassidy took a deep breath, centering herself. "Yes, I did. I was very clear about needing space." "Space is one thing, Cassidy. 3 years of complete silence is another." There was a pause, and Cassidy could almost see her mother pursing her lips the way she always did when she felt someone was being unreasonable. "We're family." "Family," Cassidy repeated the word, tasting bitter. "Is that why you're calling now? Because you suddenly remembered you have a daughter?" Another pause. "I saw your post about your new car. A Tesla, Cassidy, that must have cost a fortune." And there it was, the real reason for the call. Not concern for her well-being, not a genuine desire to reconnect, but curiosity about her apparent wealth. Cassidy felt a cold clarity wash over her. It did, she confirmed, keeping her tone neutral. "Aaron and I are doing well." "So I see," her mother said, a new warmth entering her voice. "Your father and I have been so worried about you. We should catch up properly. Maybe we could visit, see this new life you've built." Cassidy moved from her desk to the window, looking out at the view of San Francisco Bay that had initially sold them on the house. The irony wasn't lost on her 3 years of silence, broken not by concern, but by the evidence of financial success. "What's Tyler up to these days?" she asked, instead of answering, changing the subject deliberately. Her mother sighed heavily. "That's actually part of why I'm calling. Tyler's had some setbacks." Cassidy raised an eyebrow, though her mother couldn't see it. "Setbacks. He was cut from the team last season. Knee injury. He's been struggling to find his footing since then." Diane's voice lowered conspiratorially. "Between us, he's had some trouble with pain medication after the surgery, and there have been some poor financial decisions." The picture became clearer. "I'm sorry to hear that," Cassidy said, and she was. Despite everything, she didn't wish ill on her brother. We've been helping him as much as we can, but your father's thinking about retirement and our savings aren't what they used to be. Another significant pause. Tyler mentioned that you're some big tech executive now. And there it was, the ask thinly veiled but unmistakable. I am Cassidy, acknowledged. I've worked very hard to get where I am. We always knew you were smart, her mother said quickly. We've been so proud, telling everyone about our daughter, the tech genius. Cassidy nearly laughed at the blatant rewriting of history. Really? That's interesting because the last time we spoke, which was when you told me you couldn't attend my wedding, you didn't seem to know or care what I did for a living. That's not fair, Cassidy, her mother protested. We've always supported you, supported me. This time Cassidy did laugh the sound sharp and humorless. Mom, you and Dad missed my high school graduation for Tyler's football camp. You skipped my college graduation for his summer training. You chose his exhibition game over my wedding. That's not support. You know how important Tyler's career was Cassidy emphasized. And what about my career? What about my life milestones? They never seemed important enough. There was a long silence on the line. When Diane spoke again, her voice was softer with a hint of desperation. People make mistakes, Cassidy. We're not perfect parents, but we love you. And right now, your brother really needs help. We all do. Cassidy closed her eyes, feeling the familiar pull of family obligation warring with the boundaries she'd set for her own protection. Before she could respond, she heard the front door open, Aaron returning from the office earlier than expected. I need to go, Mom, she said. I have a meeting. Wait, Diane said quickly. Can we talk again soon? Maybe schedule a visit. Your father and Tyler would love to see you. We could all reconnect. Cassidy bit her lip, conflicted. I'll think about it, she finally said, but I need to go now. Of course, honey. I'll call again tomorrow. Love you. The call ended before Cassidy could respond, which was just as well since she wasn't sure what she would have said. She set her phone down on the windowsill and took several deep breaths, trying to process the unexpected contact and its obvious motivation. Aaron found her still standing by the window arms wrapped around herself. Hey, you okay? He asked, setting his laptop bag down and crossing the room to her. My mother called Cassidy, said her voice steadier than she felt. Aaron's eyebrows shot up. After 3 years? What did she want? To reconnect, Cassidy said with a wry smile. Right after seeing my Tesla post. Oh, and by the way, Tyler's been cut from the team, has possible addiction issues, and has made bad financial decisions. And Dad's retiring soon. Ah, Aaron said, understanding immediately. So they need money. They didn't ask directly. Yet, Cassidy turned to face him fully. But that's clearly where this is headed. She wants to visit to We're Connect. She claims they've been proudly telling everyone about their tech genius daughter. Aaron's expression darkened. That's convenient timing for their sudden pride. Exactly. Cassidy moved to the couch and sank down suddenly exhausted. The thing is, I could help them. Financially, I mean. We have more than enough money. You could, Aaron agreed, sitting beside her. But is that really what this is about? Cassidy looked at him questioningly. They're not just asking for money, Cass. They're trying to insert themselves back into your life now that you're successful. After years of making you feel second best, they suddenly want a relationship when it benefits them. Cassidy nodded slowly. I know, but they're still my family. Being family doesn't give them the right to hurt you repeatedly, Aaron said gently. Or to only care about you when you have something they want. His words struck a chord. Throughout her childhood and early adulthood, Cassidy had been valued primarily for what she could offer, sitting quietly at games, keeping her needs small and unobtrusive, being the low-maintenance child who didn't require attention or resources. Now that she had something tangible, they wanted money, they were suddenly interested in a relationship. She's calling again tomorrow, Cassidy said. I didn't know what to say, so I just told her I'd think about them visiting. Aaron took her hands in his. You don't have to decide anything right now, but whatever you choose, I'm with you. Just remember how much progress you've made in healing since setting that boundary 3 years ago." That evening, Cassidy couldn't focus on anything. She found herself looking through old photos on her laptop, family pictures, where she stood slightly apart, always on the periphery, while Tyler occupied the center. There were countless images of her parents at Tyler's games, their faces animated with excitement, but so few of them attending any of her events. She came across a photo from her Northwestern graduation, a selfie she'd taken with her roommates, her graduation cap slightly askew, her smile bright, but her eyes holding a hint of sadness. Her parents had sent a congratulatory text that day, but had been in Florida for Tyler's training camp. As she stared at the image, a memory surfaced of something her favorite professor had once told her. You can't change people who don't see their behavior as a problem. Her parents had never seen their preferential treatment as problematic. In their minds, they were simply supporting the child with the most promising future. The fact that their calculations had proven dramatically wrong, that Cassidy, not Tyler, had achieved exceptional success, didn't change the years of neglect and dismissal she had endured. Sometime around midnight, lying in bed beside a sleeping Aaron, Cassidy made her decision. Hey everyone, I hope you're enjoying Cassidy's story so far. I can feel your emotions running high just like mine when I first heard about her family's sudden interest after seeing that Tesla. If you're loving this journey of family drama and potential revenge, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more incredible true stories like this one. I'm curious, have you ever had someone from your past suddenly reappear when things were going well for you? Let me know in the comments below. Now, let's continue with Cassidy's story and see what she decides to do. When her mother called the following day, Cassidy was prepared. She had spent the morning discussing options with Aaron and had reached clarity about how she wanted to proceed. "Hi, Mom," she answered, her voice deliberately warm and open. "Cassidy, honey, I'm so glad you picked up. I was worried you might have changed your mind about talking to us." "No, I've been thinking about what you said," Cassidy replied, maintaining her friendly tone. "About reconnecting and visiting." Oh, the hope in Diane's voice was palpable. "And what do you think?" "I think it's been too long," Cassidy said, the half-truth coming easily. "You're right that we're family, and maybe it's time to try again." "That's wonderful," Diane exclaimed, clearly relieved. "Your father will be so pleased, and Tyler too, of course." "How is Tyler doing?" Cassidy asked, injecting concern into her voice. Her mother sighed heavily, struggling honestly. The knee injury was worse than the doctors initially thought. His contract wasn't renewed, and there haven't been any offers from other teams. "He's been staying with us for the past few months." "That must be hard for all of you," Cassidy sympathized. "It is," Diane agreed, "especially financially. Your father's retirement account took a hit during the last market downturn, and we've had to help Tyler with some of his expenses. Medical bills mostly." She paused significantly. The insurance didn't cover everything. Cassidy made a non-committal sound of understanding, refusing to take the bait. "So, about visiting. I was thinking you could all come out to San Francisco. We have plenty of room in our house, and I could show you around the city." Oh, Diane seemed momentarily taken aback, perhaps having expected Cassidy to offer financial help immediately. "That sounds lovely. When were you thinking? How about next month? The weather will be perfect, and Aaron and I both have some flexibility in our schedules." They settled on dates, and Cassidy offered to pay for their flights, a gesture that prompted effusive gratitude from her mother. "That's so generous of you, honey. Things have been tight lately with all of Tyler's needs." "It's no problem," Cassidy assured her, thinking of the carefully crafted plan she and Aaron had devised. "I'm looking forward to seeing all of you." After ending the call, she joined Aaron in their home gym, where he was finishing a workout. "They're coming," she announced, picking up a towel and wiping down the treadmill she'd been using before the call. Mom nearly broke into tears when I offered to pay for the flights. Aaron stepped off the rowing machine, reaching for his water bottle. So, Phase 1 of Operation Family Reunion is complete. Cassidy nodded, a determined glint in her eye. They'll be here in 3 weeks. Time to prepare for Phase 2. The preparations were extensive and meticulous. Cassidy and Aaron decided to present a specific version of their life during the visit. Not a false one, but a carefully curated reality that would serve their purpose. First, they moved some of their more expensive art pieces and electronics to their second bedroom, which they would keep closed during the visit, claiming it was being renovated. The goal wasn't to hide their wealth entirely, but to make it seem more modest than it actually was, comfortable but not extravagant. We want them to see enough success to feel their plan is working, Cassidy explained to Zoe over coffee, but not so much that they think I can solve all their financial problems. Next, Cassidy reached out to several of her colleagues asking for small favors to execute during the visit. Her executive assistant Miguel agreed to call multiple times during family meals with urgent business matters. Her friend Janelle, who worked in the company's legal department, would make an appearance at the house to discuss confidential contract concerns that required immediate attention. The goal is to create the impression that I'm successful but overwhelmed, Cassidy explained to Aaron as they finalized their plans. That I have money, but also significant obligations and pressures. And the Tesla, Aaron asked, nodding toward the luxury car in their driveway. That stays, Cassidy decided. It's what brought them here after all. But I'll make sure to mention the crushing car payment several times. She smiled thinly. They don't need to know we paid for it outright. The most crucial element of their plan involved Tyler. Based on her mother's comments, Cassidy suspected her brother would be the one to eventually make a direct request for financial help. She needed to understand exactly what his situation was and what he was expecting from her. I'm going to need to get him alone, she told Aaron, really understand what's happening with him. Do you think he's changed at all? Aaron asked carefully. He had never met Tyler, having only heard stories from Cassidy. She considered the question. I don't know. He was never malicious, just entitled. He grew up being told he was special, that his future was bright and guaranteed. I can't imagine that mentality disappears overnight, even with setbacks. In the days before her family's arrival, Cassidy found herself increasingly anxious. She threw herself into work as a distraction, staying late at the office and bringing projects home. Aaron found her at midnight the day before their arrival, still typing furiously on her laptop at the kitchen island. Cass, they'll be here tomorrow. You need to sleep. She looked up, her eyes tired. I know. I just keep thinking about seeing them again. What if I can't go through with this? What if I just cave and give them whatever they want? Aaron closed her laptop gently. You won't, because you know that wouldn't actually help any of you in the long run. This isn't about punishment, it's about establishing healthy boundaries. Cassidy nodded, letting him lead her upstairs to bed. You're right. Tomorrow, Operation Family Reunion officially begins. The reunion was as awkward as Cassidy had anticipated. She stood in the airport terminal, watching as her parents and brother approached, noting how they'd aged. Her father's hair had gone completely gray. Her mother's face showed deeper lines, and Tyler, once the picture of athletic prowess, walked with a slight limp, his former muscular frame now softer around the edges. Cassidy, her mother called, rushing forward to embrace her. Oh, look at you, so professional in your fancy suit. Cassidy returned the hug stiffly, then accepted one from her father. The Tesla's in the short-term parking, she said, leading them toward the exit. We'll have to squeeze a bit with the luggage. A Tesla, her father exclaimed with poorly disguised interest. Those are quite the investment. The car payments are brutal, Cassidy replied, casually implementing the first part of her plan. But it's a company status thing. All the executives are expected to drive certain brands. Tyler, who had remained silent until now, suddenly seemed more engaged. "What model did you get?" "The Model S Plaid," Cassidy answered, unlocking the car with her phone. "It's fast, but honestly, probably not worth the price tag." The drive to her house was filled with superficial conversation, comments about the San Francisco weather, questions about the flight, observations about the scenery. When they pulled into the driveway of her home, she watched their reactions in the rearview mirror, widened eyes, impressed glances exchanged. "This is quite a place," her father said as they entered the house. "The view alone must be worth a fortune." "The mortgage is terrifying," Cassidy replied smoothly. "But the tech market has been good to us so far. Who knows how long that will last? Those startups are always volatile." She showed them to the guest rooms she and Aaron had prepared, pointing out the bathroom they would share and offering to give them a house tour after they'd freshened up. Aaron was still at work, planning to join them for dinner later, a deliberate decision they'd made to give Cassidy time alone with her family first. "Everything is so beautiful," her mother commented, running a hand along the quartz kitchen countertop. "You've done well for yourself." "We've been lucky," Cassidy deflected. "But it comes with a lot of pressure. 60-hour work weeks are the norm." On cue, her phone rang, Miguel calling as planned. Cassidy excused herself to take the call in the next room, making sure her voice was just loud enough to be overheard. "I know the deadline is tomorrow, but I need that report reviewed tonight." "Yes, I understand it's after hours." "No, it can't wait until morning." When she returned to the kitchen, her expression was apologetic but harried. "Sorry about that. Work emergencies never stop." "Is everything okay?" her mother asked. "Just the usual chaos," Cassidy sighed. "I may have to log in for an hour after dinner to fix someone else's mistake." Her father nodded sympathetically. "That's the price of success, I suppose." Speaking of success, her mother segued none too subtly. "We should talk about Tyler's situation while we're all together." Cassidy glanced at her brother, who suddenly seemed very interested in the floor tiles. "Actually, Mom, I was hoping to catch up with Tyler one-on-one first. Maybe he and I could go for a walk before dinner. The view from the hill behind the house is amazing." Tyler looked surprised but nodded. "Sure, I'd like that." 20 minutes later, Cassidy and Tyler were following a trail that wound up the hillside behind her property. The awkwardness between them was palpable, 3 years of silence creating a chasm that small talk couldn't bridge. So Cassidy finally said when they reached a bench overlooking the bay, "Mom mentioned you've been having a rough time." Tyler sighed heavily, lowering himself onto the bench. "That's putting it mildly." "My knee is shot. 3 surgeries, and it's still not right." "I'm sorry to hear that," Cassidy said, and meant it. "That must have been devastating." "It was my whole future," Tyler agreed, staring out at the water, and then suddenly it wasn't. "The team doctors cleared me to play before I was ready, and I tore everything all over again in practice. That was it, contract terminated." And now Tyler shrugged. "I've been trying to figure out what the hell to do with my life. I never planned for anything else. You know, football was the only path I ever considered." "What about your degree?" Cassidy asked. "Sports management, wasn't it? Yeah, but let's be honest, I barely earned it. Most of my papers were written by tutors the athletic department provided." He glanced at her shamefacedly. "Not like you with your fancy computer science brain." Cassidy absorbed this, surprised by his candor. "And financially, Mom mentioned medical bills." Tyler winced. "Yeah, it's bad. The team covered the first surgery, but after they cut me, the insurance changed. I had some savings for my signing bonus, but that's gone now. I've got medical debt, credit card debt." He trailed off, then added reluctantly, "And some gambling issues I'm trying to get under control." "Gambling?" Cassidy repeated, genuinely surprised. Tyler nodded miserably. "I thought I could win back what I was losing." "Stupid, I know." Does Mom know about the gambling god? No, Tyler said quickly. They think it's all medical and bad investments. Which is partly true. I did sink money into a friend's restaurant that failed. Cassidy studied her brother, seeing him clearly for perhaps the first time in her life. Not the golden child, not the favored sibling, but a man who had peaked early and was now facing a future he was utterly unprepared for. Why didn't you reach out to me directly? She asked. Why send Mom as your messenger? Tyler had the grace to look ashamed. I was embarrassed, I guess. And I didn't think you'd want to hear from me. Not after the wedding. You mean the wedding you missed for an exhibition game? He winced. I know how that sounds. But you have to understand from my perspective, that game was my chance to impress the coaches to secure my position. I didn't realize. He paused, then admitted, I didn't think about how it would feel for you. No, Cassidy agreed coolly, you didn't. They sat in silence for a long moment, the evening fog beginning to roll in across the bay. So Tyler finally said, his voice artificially casual. Mom says you're some big tech executive now, making the big bucks. And there it was, the real purpose of this reunion. I do, okay, Cassidy, replied noncommittally, but Silicon Valley is expensive. The house, the car, the lifestyle, it all comes at a cost. But you're doing better than most, Tyler pressed. Better than I expected to, yes. Another silence fell between them. Tyler shifted uncomfortably on the bench. Look, Cass, I'm just going to say it. I need help. I'm drowning in debt. I have no career prospects, and I'm living in Mom and Dad's basement at 34. It's pathetic. Cassidy regarded him steadily. What kind of help are you looking for exactly? Money, he admitted bluntly. A loan to clear the debts. Maybe something to get me started in a new direction. I know it's a lot to ask after everything, but you're my sister. And it seems like you can afford it. I see, Cassidy, said her voice neutral. And this loan, would you pay it back? Tyler hesitated, just a fraction too long. Of course. Eventually. Like you paid back the money Mom and Dad gave you for your condo down payment, or the car they helped you buy after college. His face flushed. That's different. They offered that money as a gift. Did they? Cassidy raised an eyebrow. Or did you just never intend to repay it? Why are you being like this? Tyler demanded a flash of the entitlement she remembered surfacing. It's not like it would even dent your bank account. I saw that Tesla, Cassidy. I know how much those cost. You're right, Cassidy agreed mildly. I could probably afford to help you. But I'm curious, what exactly do Mom and Dad think is going to happen here? Did they send you up here to ask for money, or was this your idea? Tyler looked away. They don't know I'm asking directly. But they've been talking about how successful you are, how you could help the family if you wanted to. Cassidy nodded, pieces falling into place. So that's why they suddenly wanted to reconnect after 3 years of silence, not because they missed me or regretted missing my wedding, but because they saw my Tesla post and thought I could solve their financial problems. It's not just that Tyler protested weakly. They've missed you. Have they? Cassidy stood suddenly, needing to move. Because in 3 years, their attempts to contact me have been minimal and superficial at best. No real apologies, no acknowledgement of how they've treated me my entire life. Just occasional texts saying, we should talk sometime. Tyler had no response to this. Let me ask you something, Cassidy continued. If I hadn't posted that Tesla photo, if I was still just a mid-level programmer making an average salary, would they have reached out? Would you be sitting here asking for my help? The answer was written all over his face. That's what I thought, Cassidy said quietly. Come on, we should head back. Aaron will be home soon and we're going out for dinner. As they walked back down the hill, Tyler finally spoke again. So, about the loan, Cassidy stopped walking and turned to face him. I'll think about it. But first, I want to see how this visit goes. The following 2 days unfolded according to Cassidy's carefully orchestrated plan. At breakfast, work calls interrupted her repeatedly. During a tour of San Francisco, she made a point of mentioning the financial pressures she and Aaron faced: the exorbitant property taxes, the cost of living in the Bay Area, the volatility of tech industry compensation. "Most of our money is tied up in company stock," she explained, as they drove across the Golden Gate Bridge. "Looks good on paper, but it's not like we can access it easily. And if the company has a bad quarter, our net worth could drop overnight." Her parents nodded sympathetically, though she noticed them exchanging glances when they thought she wasn't looking. On the evening of the second day, Janelle arrived as planned, carrying a briefcase and looking harried. "I'm so sorry to interrupt your family time," she said, playing her role perfectly. "But we need to review these contracts tonight if we want to close the deal." Cassidy excused herself for an hour, leaving her family in the living room with Aaron, who had been briefed to emphasize the precariousness of their financial situation. When she returned, she found her mother making tea in the kitchen. "Everything okay with work, honey?" Diane asked, trying to sound casual. "Just a potential acquisition we're working on," Cassidy replied. "If it goes through, it could be great for the company. If it falls apart, well," she shrugged. "That's the risk of working with startups." Her mother nodded, then set down her teacup deliberately. "Cassidy, your father and I have been thinking. We're so proud of what you've accomplished, and we feel terrible about how distant we've been." "Do you?" Cassidy asked, leaning against the counter. "What specifically do you feel terrible about?" Mom Diane looked taken aback. "Well, just the distance between us. The time we've lost. Not missing my wedding, not being there for any of my major life events, not showing the same interest in my achievements that you showed in Tyler's. That's not fair, Cassidy." "We supported you." How Cassidy interrupted. "By missing my graduations, by never visiting me in college or after I moved to San Francisco, by choosing Tyler's game over my wedding day." Her mother's lips thinned. "We made mistakes, I admit that, but we're trying now." "Isn't that what matters? The timing of your renewed interest is interesting," Cassidy observed. 3 years of silence, and suddenly you're reaching out right after seeing evidence that I'm financially successful. "That's not," Diane began, but Cassidy cut her off. "Mom, Tyler already told me why you're really here. He asked me for money yesterday." Diane's expression flickered between shock and guilt. "He shouldn't have done that so directly. We wanted this visit to be about reconnecting first." Before asking for money, Cassidy finished for her. At least Tyler was honest about his intentions. "We are in a difficult position," Diane admitted finally. "Your father's retirement fund isn't what we hoped, and with Tyler's medical bills and him living at home, and you thought I could solve these problems for you." "We thought you might want to help your family," Diane corrected, a note of defensiveness creeping into her voice. "That's what families do, they help each other." "Except when it comes to attending their daughter's wedding," apparently Cassidy replied, coolly. Her mother flushed. "I said we made mistakes. We're trying to make amends." "No, Mom, you're trying to get money. There's a difference." The conversation ended there, with Diane retreating to the guest room claiming a headache. Cassidy found Aaron in their bedroom waiting for her update. "Phase 2 complete," she informed him, kicking off her shoes. "The gloves are officially off." Mom admitted they're here for money, though she tried to frame it as family helping family. "What's your next move?" Aaron asked, watching her pace the room. "Tomorrow is the final act," Cassidy replied. "I've invited Miguel and the team for dinner here. It's time to reveal the full extent of our success and watch them recalibrate their expectations." The dinner party the following evening was the culmination of Cassidy's plan. She invited 6 colleagues from her executive team, each aware of their role in the evening's orchestration. The conversation flowed freely, with talk of upcoming IPOs, property investments, and vacation homes. "Aaron and I are thinking of buying that place in Lake Tahoe we looked at," Cassidy mentioned casually during dinner. "The one with the private dock." "You should," Miguel agreed. "Especially after the bonus structure the board approved yesterday. You two could buy the neighboring property as well and still have plenty left over. Cassidy watched her family's expressions shift throughout the evening, from confusion to dawning comprehension to poorly disguised calculation. After the guests departed, her father cornered her in the kitchen as she loaded the dishwasher. "Sounds like things are going even better for you than you let on," he observed, attempting nonchalance. "Yes," Cassidy agreed simply, "they are. You know, your mother and I have always believed in sharing good fortune with family," he continued. "When Tyler was doing well with football, we made sure everyone benefited." Cassidy straightened up, fixing him with a direct look. I don't recall benefiting from Tyler's success. In fact, I recall quite the opposite, being consistently deprioritized in favor of his career." Richard frowned. "That's a very selfish way to look at family dynamics, Cassidy. Is it selfish to expect my parents to attend my wedding, to acknowledge my achievements, the way they acknowledged Tyler's to show up for the important moments of my life?" Her father had no good answer for this. "We're getting off track," he said instead. "The point is, we're in a tight spot right now and we could use your help." "How much are you asking for exactly?" Cassidy inquired, her voice deceptively mild. Richard named a figure that made Cassidy's eyebrows rise enough to pay off all of Tyler's debts and provide a substantial cushion for her parents' retirement. "That's a significant amount," she observed. "You can afford it," he replied, gesturing around the expensive kitchen. "You just spent that much on dinner tonight." "I can afford it," Cassidy agreed, "but I won't be giving it to you." Her father's face darkened. "Excuse me," I said. "No, Dad. I'm not giving you that money, not as a gift, not as a loan. After everything we've done for you?" Cassidy laughed, the sound sharp and humorless. "What exactly have you done for me? Missed every important milestone in my adult life. Consistently put Tyler's needs and wants ahead of mine. Reached out after 3 years of silence because you saw I had money and decided I might be and useful to you. That's not fair," Richard protested. "No, it's not fair," Cassidy agreed. "None of it has been fair. But here's what's going to happen now. I'm going to book your flights home for tomorrow morning. This visit is over." "You can't just I can and I am," Cassidy interrupted firmly, "but I'm not completely heartless. I'll pay for a financial advisor to help you and Mom plan for retirement with what you have. And I'll connect Tyler with a career counselor who specializes in helping former athletes transition to new fields. What I won't do is write a blank check to solve problems that throwing money at won't actually fix." Her father stared at her in disbelief. "So that's it? You're turning your back on your family when we need you?" "No, Dad. You turned your back on me years ago. I'm just finally accepting that reality and establishing boundaries that protect my well-being." The next morning was tense. Her mother cried, her father remained stonily silent, and Tyler alternated between anger and desperate negotiation. Cassidy remained firm, driving them to the airport in the Tesla that had prompted their visit in the first place. "This isn't how family treats each other," her mother said tearfully, as they prepared to go through security. "I agree," Cassidy replied calmly. "That's a lesson I wish you'd learned years ago." She watched them disappear through the security checkpoint, feeling a complex mixture of emotions, sadness for what could have been relief that it was over, and a quiet sense of justice served. That evening, Cassidy and Aaron sat on their deck, watching the sunset over the bay, a bottle of champagne open between them. To boundaries, Aaron toasted, raising his glass. To karma, Cassidy added, clinking her glass against his. And to family, the one we choose, not the one we're born with. Later that night, Cassidy wrote a series of checks donations to organizations supporting education for underprivileged students, a substantial contribution to a foundation helping former athletes navigate career transitions, and seed money for a scholarship fund at Northwestern for first-generation college students. "What's all this?" Aaron asked, finding her at the desk. "Karma works both ways," Cassidy explained. I won't give my family money directly, but I can use what I have to help others in similar situations make better choices. She posted one final image to her Facebook account before closing it permanently, a photo of the donation receipts with the caption, "True wealth isn't measured by what you have, but by what you give." Finding my own definition of family loyalty. As she clicked, post Cassidy felt the last remnants of resentment melt away, replaced by a sense of peace. Her parents and brother had taught her an unintended lesson that true family shows up consistently and unconditionally. With Aaron, with their chosen family of friends and colleagues, she had finally found that certainty. The sting of her parents' rejection would always be part of her story, but it no longer defined her. She had rewritten the ending, transforming pain into purpose and betrayal into boundaries. And in doing so, she had discovered that sometimes the most powerful form of karma isn't revenge at all. It's the freedom to finally move forward. Thank you all for watching this story all the way through. If you've ever had to set difficult boundaries with family members or dealt with relatives who only show up when they need something, I'd love to hear about your experiences in the comments below. What family karma or justice moments have you witnessed in your own life? Don't forget to like this video if Cassidy's journey resonated with you, subscribe for more real-life drama stories, and share with anyone who might need to hear this message about healthy boundaries. I appreciate each and every one of you for being part of this storytelling community. Remember, sometimes the family we choose is more valuable than the one we're born into. See you in the next video!